Have you heard? The danger of the garden hose. Those hot summer days. A great time for dog owners to bathe their dirty pooches outside. No danger there, right? A case series out of Texas A&M's Department of Pathology, published in the most recent issue of Veterinary Dermatology, has identified a unique cause behind thermal burns occurring during the dog days of summer. 22 skin biopsy samples received during the summer months of 2007 through 2010 had histopathologic findings consistent with thermal burns. Of these, 10 cases had histories suggestive of exposure to hot water from garden hoses. These cases came from areas where the daytime temperatures were known to have reached upward of 90 degrees Fahrenheit before presentation. These cases were typified by injuries along the dorsum, microscopic lesions ranging from local erythema to ulcerated necrotic and sloughing skin, and healed alopecia wounds with characteristically smooth glassy scar tissue. Histologically, these injuries represented second or third degree burns. The severity of a burn depends on the temperature and duration of exposure. Biopsy is the most useful tool for diagnosing the type and degree of burn injury. A second-degree burn involves full-thickness epidermal necrosis with extension into the follicular and glandular structures. Third-degree burns take it one step further with dermal and epidermal necrosis that often wicks down to hair follicles to involve the deeper structures. In the cases in this study, the suspected heat source was water heated inside garden hoses exposed to high ambient temperatures. For 10 dogs identified as possible garden hose scalding victims, clinical descriptions or photographs of the lesions provided by the clinicians described linear burn patterns extending the length of the dorsal trunk. In a few cases, the lesions were restricted to the caudal dorsum or lateral thorax. On presentation, the dogs were non-pruritic and non-painful, and while all of the cases resolved over time, they were left with considerable scarring. To test the garden hose scalding theory, the pathologists conducted their own field experiment. 2 rubber garden hoses, one black and one green, were filled with water and set out on the grass in the hot Texas sun. The hoses spent 2 hours out in temperatures rising from 89 to 94 degrees Fahrenheit. The water collected from each hose recorded a temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature capable of producing thermal scald injury. Several criteria should be met before proclaiming a case of garden hose scalding syndrome. A clinical history of having been hosed off with water from a garden hose, lesions distributed along the dorsum, and second or third degree thermal burns seen grossly and histologically. In addition, the lesion must have occurred during the hottest times of the year where the recorded temperatures were above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. With scalding injuries, clinical signs may not be apparent for several days or even longer after the heat exposure. Pet owners may not be able to remember when or how the injury occurred. So danger does lurk in the dog days of summer. And this study shows that discussing the possibility of garden hose scalding syndrome with your clients is prudent.